International diplomacy is highly choreographed. Physical space is a deliberate projection of state power, and a measured handshake is the universal standard for mutual respect. Then there is Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a leader who regularly discards this protocol in favor of visceral, physically aggressive interactions. The evidence of this approach is highly documented. When he met Prince William, the Prime Minister's crushing handshake left visible white indentations on his hand. Meeting Antonio Costa, the former Prime Minister of Portugal, Modi held his hand with an unyielding grip, stretching well past an ordinary diplomatic greeting. These encounters do not go unnoticed. The British press, specifically the Daily Mail, observed these antics and explicitly labeled his physical behavior as cringe. A prime minister's movements are the movements of the state. Every awkward grab and unreciprocated hug on the world stage reflects directly on the dignity and manners of the nation he represents. By forcing a yanking handshake and a suffocating embrace, Modi takes what should be a moment of serious geopolitical outreach and turns it into an uncomfortable international joke. If we break down the mechanics of these interactions, a clear pattern emerges. He routinely grabs hands without establishing eye contact, aggressively jerking the other person off balance, while completely ignoring their visible physical discomfort. This lack of spatial awareness extends to his rhetoric, too. Take his loud laugh diplomacy, characterized by moments where he loudly exclaims phrases like, "Congratulations, your woman team," and erupts into laughter, often leaving his counterpart standing in stiff silence, completely misreading the room. The most common defense for this behavior is cultural. Supporters argue he is simply projecting typical South Asian warmth. However, in professional global spaces, uninvited touching is universally recognized as ill-mannered, regardless of where you come from. Look at this official photograph from the SAARC summit. Here, leaders from nations with identical cultural backgrounds to India all stand with formal, non-tactile posture. The baseline behavior across this entire region is respectful distance. None rely on an aggressive, upward hug to greet peers. Because no other peer in his own region replicates this behavior, we have to rule out the cultural defense. The upward hug is a calculated personal strategy. So if this physical aggression isn't cultural warmth, what is its actual purpose? This animated diagram illustrates a specific dynamic in statecraft: forced parity. When a leader forces physical intimacy on a peer who resists it, they are attempting to manufacture an image of closeness that doesn't exist in policy, seeking validation through sheer proximity. This dynamic is perfectly illustrated in this group photo of world leaders at the high-stakes Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit. Modi was observed actively roaming the floor, laughing loudly, and physically chasing an interaction with Vladimir Putin, visibly seeking approval from the room. These interactions reveal severe asymmetry. One leader attempts to force an image of deep personal camaraderie, while the global heavyweights visibly reciprocate the intimacy. These iron grips and forced hugs reveal an underlying anxiety. They function as a physical attempt to extract the status of an equal from the West, even when the diplomatic reality remains cold and distant. The ultimate contradiction of Modi's tactile diplomacy is that the actions he takes to project strength are yielding the exact opposite result. Forcing unwanted physical intimacy onto rigid, highly formalized global stages almost always guarantees viral moments of deep, visible discomfort. In international relations, respect is built on the substance of policy and shared interests. Physical force at a fleeting photo op cannot substitute for the slow work of earning a real seat at the table. And the consequence of failing to understand this falls entirely on the nation. The Prime Minister literally holds the reputation of the country in his hands. Ignoring professional boundaries to manufacture a strongman photo op only succeeds in making the leader look smaller and far less serious to foreign allies. True statesmanship is rooted in the ability to read the room. These aggressive, boundary-crossing encounters intended to show dominance often result in the opposite, a world that reflexively takes a step back.